today we are going to start the fourth chapter of biology 10th ICSE, that is absorption by roots. See, this is one of the chapter seems to be very large, but it has very easy and important topics. So we can just finish it off very early. Just remember the things you need to remember in this topic, or you need to pay attention is, you need to grab the definitions very properly. You need to understand by heart the definitions from the textbook and try to apply them. Try to apply the concepts given in them. I will explain it very shortly and very properly over here in the text, over here in the video. You shall take the notes from this and try to remember as much as you can. So absorption by roots. See, we all remember that roots absorb water and minerals from the soil. But what is the reasons? What is the reason for the absorption of root? See, reasons for absorption. Why does the root absorb water? Why does the plant need water and minerals? So first of all, first is photosynthesis. See, during the process of photosynthesis, water is required. So for that purpose, water is absorbed by the roots. Second, transportation. See, as in human beings, blood is present in the body. So food we eat is transported through the blood to various parts of the body. Similarly, the food produced during photosynthesis in plants is transported to various parts of the body by the plant with the help of a medium called as water or sap. So, water or sap or minerals, with the help of this the food material is transported. So, water acts as the medium over here. So, that is the reason for absorption of water by the roots. Third is transpiration. Now what is transpiration? We all know what transpiration is: loss of water from aerial parts of the plant. So if transpiration occurs, that is loss of water occurs, then there is deficiency of water in plants. So to compensate that deficiency, plant needs to absorb water. Next is mechanical stiffness. See, if a plant absorbs more and more water, the cells become turgid and kind of cell and mineral, because of cell and mineral absorption, the cells or the parts of the plant become very stiff. Stiff, that is, they gain a certain kind of strength. So because of that mechanical stiffness or strength, the parts of the plant are difficult to break down. So it provides a kind of strength to the plant. So these are the four basic reasons for which absorption of water and minerals occurs by roots. Now, what are the parts of the plant that absorb, or what are the parts of the roots that absorb water? So one of the most important part is root hair. Root hair are fine extensions of the roots. Like this is the principal root. So around that many small fine extensions are present called as root hairs. These root hairs help in tremendous amount of water and minerals from the ground or from the soil. So what are the various structural aspects seen in roots? Structural aspects in root for absorption. First is enormous surface area. See, if the surface area is large enough, the absorption of the water and minerals would be very large. So how is the surface area enlarged or the increased in roots? It is by protrusions of the roots in the form of rootlets or we can say them root hairs. Due to presence of extensive or hundreds of root hairs, thousands of root hairs, the surface area of the root increases tremendously and the absorption capacity also increases. Second is presence of high concentration sap in roots, in plant body or roots. So what occurs is, basically the concentration of solutes in the root or plant is very high as compared to that in soil. So what occurs is, in osmosis, always remember one golden statement that I am writing here. You need to remember this throughout your life. It is the most important statement that I am going to write over here. You all need to remember this, that water always flows from hypotonic solution to hypertonic solution. Always remember, water always flows from hypotonic solution to hypertonic. Hypo means less and hyper means more. So lower concentration of solutes to higher concentration of solutes. Always from lower concentration of solutes. I am trying to say solutes. So from the lower concentration of solutes to higher concentration of solutes. Suppose this is A and this is B. Solute concentration over here is in A is 80%. Okay, and solute concentration is in B is 95%. So from where to where will the water flow? Yes, from A to B. It is from lower concentration of solutes to higher concentration of solutes. Always remember this. So why I am trying to say over here is, see, presence of high concentration sap in plant. See, this is plant body, and this is soil. Okay. Presence of high concentration sap in plant body or roots as compared to soil. So in plant body the concentration is high of solutes. Sap means solutes. Sap here means solutes, and in soil it is low. So but obvious, from where to where does the movement of water take place? From soil to plant body. Okay. So this is movement of water from soil to plant. So presence of high concentration in roots or plant body enhances the absorption of water. Another important reason for absorption is root hairs are thin walled. Okay. See, root hair is a kind of cell. In plant cell, a cell wall and cell membrane is present. So the cell wall of root hair is very thin. So large amount of water can come in. And also the cell membrane is also very thin. Cell membrane is also extremely thin. So due to this extremely thin cell membrane is selectively permeable, no doubt. Selectively permeable, so it would allow only solvent molecules, water molecules to come in. And along with that it is thin, so large amount of water would come in. So these characteristics like enormous surface area, which would help in more water absorption and mineral absorption. Presence of high concentration in plant body, which again would lead to more water and mineral absorption. Thin walled structural importance again would lead to more absorption. So these are the important characters that would lead to more absorption by the root hairs. Now we would see how the absorption and conduction of water and minerals take place in the plant body. See, there are different methods or different ways through which absorption is, in the sense how the water and minerals come into the plant body, and conduction how they are transported through the plant body. So absorption and conduction of water and minerals. So there are basically in general 5 conditions or 5 methods: imbibition, diffusion, osmosis, active transport, turgidity and flaccidity. We would see each and every part of this in detail. So let's first start with imbibition. So let's start with imbibition. Now what you need to remember about imbibition is, first of all, its definition. As per your textbook, the definition says that imbibition is phenomena by which living or dead plant cell absorbs water by surface attraction. See, what occurs is absorption of water by living or dead cell. Living or dead cell due to surface attraction. Surface attraction, that is the living or dead cell surface has an attraction towards the water. So because of that attraction, if the water comes in or water absorbs, it is called as imbibition. See, there is just a surface attraction over here. Here no concentration, nothing matters that if the concentration is high in cell or low in surrounding, or nothing like that. Just surface attraction leads to water absorption. An example of this is absorption of water by wood in rainy season. In rainy season, you would have seen that the wooden door of our house gets crammed due to absorption of water. We cannot close or open it properly because its surface area increases due to absorption of water. So there is lot of moisture in the atmosphere in rainy season. So the moisture, the water molecules in the surrounding feel a surface attraction to the, basically the surface of the wood is dead basically. So contains dead cells. Wood is produced from the dead parts of the bark of the tree. So the bark of the tree contains dead cells. So out of that wood is produced. So the dead cells of the wood face surface attraction towards the water molecule, and water is absorbed simply through this process. Another application that you can see is imbibition is germination of the seeds. During the germination, what happens is seed is present. Okay, a seed faces a surface attraction to the water molecules. So what happens is water enters the seed. Due to that, pressure increases in the seed and seed coat ruptures, and due to that rupturing, the plumulin radicle come out of the seed coat. So another is during germination. During germination, the seed coat is ruptured due to excessive pressure created due to absorption of water, and germination takes place. Next up we are going to discuss is diffusion. See, diffusion and osmosis are one of the most important topics or one of the most important concepts that you need to remember. See, what occurs in diffusion is movement of solute, solvent, water, etc. Water or any liquid, etc. So movement of the solute, solvent, water, liquid, etc. Anything, water, any liquid, any solute or any solvent can move through the process of diffusion. The thing required for diffusion is just a concentration gradient. Now what is concentration gradient? Concentration gradient is basically a difference in concentration levels between two things. For example, I would just recite the definition again. The movement of solute, solvent, water, liquid, etc. any molecules from a region of high concentration to low concentration. Okay. Anything, solute, maybe solute, solvent, anything, if it movement has to occur, then if solute is moving from A to B, then if the solute is moving from A to B through diffusion, that means that the concentration of solute is high in A and that of B. So therefore diffusion is occurring from A to B. For example, we would see here there are two containers A and B. Okay, A and B. Here solute concentration is 25% and here solute concentration is 50% or 60%. Now I have to move the solutes through diffusion. So from where to where would the solutes move? From where to where the solute movement would occur? A to B or B to A? Yes, what would be the answer? The answer would be B to A, because high concentration of solutes to low concentration of solutes. Understood? Diffusion is movement of solute, solvent, anything which we are considering, but from its region of high concentration to low concentration. Another thing that you need to remember in diffusion is there need to be direct contact between the two areas in which the movement of things or movement of molecules is taking place. That is, there need to be no barrier between the two regions. For example, there need to be no membrane or no obstacle between the two regions which would hinder the movement of the molecules from one part to another. So that was that. And next up comes here is one of the most important is osmosis. Now what is osmosis? Understand. Movement of. Most important line, most important. Water molecules. Movement of water molecules from its word is very important. Movement of water molecule from its region of higher concentration to low concentration. See, movement of water molecules from its region of higher concentration to low concentration. Matlab, what they are trying to say? They are trying to say is वाटर का मूवमेंट होगा ज्यादा पानी जहां पर है से लेके कम पानी जहां पर है. ओके, व्हाट वुड अकर हियर इज मूवमेंट ऑफ वाटर फ्रॉम अ रीजन विच हैज हाई वाटर कंटेंट to the region that has low water content. For example, consider this is container A and this is container B. Just right over here. And another thing remaining in this definition is movement of water molecules from its region of high concentration to low concentration in presence of SPM, semi-permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane. If and only if the semi-permeable membrane is present, then only then only osmosis can occur. See, what is the difference between diffusion and osmosis? In diffusion, if we see, if there is no membrane, there is movement of water molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. See, what I am trying to say is, if there is no membrane and there is movement of water molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration, then we would call it diffusion. But if there is a membrane and then there is movement of water molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration, then we would call it an osmosis. So in osmosis, the presence of semi-permeable membrane is very much necessary. Okay, now considering here an example, this is container A, container B. Okay, from where to where the water would flow? Answer is very easy. From A to B. The water would flow from A to B. Okay. Now, just twisting this question. Okay. Just twisting. Same condition. There are two containers A and B separated by a semi-permeable membrane. Here the concentration of solute is 20% and here the concentration of solute is 10%. So from where to where the movement of solute takes place in this situation? By osmosis. Yes, my question is from where to where the movement of solute takes place in this situation during osmosis. Yes, you all might get it wrong. The answer is no. No movement of solute takes place in osmosis. Only movement of water molecule takes place. So no movement of solute, whatever be it 20%, 200%, 2000%, no matter, they would remain over here only. Only water molecules would move from region of higher concentration to lower concentration. No solute movement takes place in osmosis. For a cell which has undergone osmosis, we can consider two statements or two definitions, that endoosmosis and exosmosis. Endoosmosis means water is coming in and exosmosis means water is going out. So, when would endoosmosis occur? When would endoosmosis occur? Means when would a situation occur that a cell will have water coming in it? Yes? See, if the external environment has high amount of water as compared to cell, then obviously the water would come in, right? So, if a cell is kept in hypotonic solution, now don't get confused over here. Solution term if occurs, if the term solution comes, then solution means solute plus solvent both. Now if a cell is kept in hypotonic solution, a solution, see, I would give you one example. If you take a glass of water and add one drop of lemon juice to it, okay, in a glass, and if you take second glass with same amount of water, okay, with same amount of water, but you add 4 drops of lemon juice in it, 4 drops of lemon juice. So what, see, they both have equal amount of level of water in that, but addition of lemon juice here is solute, so is more in B, so more concentrated solution formed is of B because it has more amount of solute. More amount of solute, more is the concentrated solution. So hypertonic, this is hypertonic solution, okay, because it has more concentration, and it is hypotonic solution. Okay, now come over here. Now come over here. Here what I have said is, if a cell is kept in hypotonic solution, that is, see, this is the cell, it is surrounded by a solution which is hypotonic. Hypotonic means the solution surrounding the cell is hypotonic. See, the solution is hypotonic and the cell is hypertonic as compared to that. Now, what I had written a golden statement over here at the beginning of the video, now remember that. I am reciting that statement again. Movement of water molecules always takes place from a region of hypotonic solution to hypertonic. Now, if a cell is kept in hypotonic, yes, hypotonic, then outside environment is hypotonic, cell is hypertonic, so water will move into the cell, right? So if a cell is kept in hypotonic solution, water will move into the cell and cell would become turgid. Turgid means increase in size due to absorption of more water, okay? Due to absorption of more water, the cell would become turgid. Turgid, that is increase in size. And in another scenario, if a cell is kept in solution which is hypertonic, and the cell is hypotonic, so what would happen? The water from the cell would lose out and it would go into the solution, so the cell would shrink in size, the size of the cell would decrease, so the decreased size of the cell is called as flaccid and the increased size of the cell is called as turgid. So if the water comes into the cell, it is endoosmosis. If it goes out, it is exosmosis. Now moving further, let's discuss another term called as osmotic pressure. Now what is osmotic pressure? See, you just need to remember the definition. The minimum pressure required to stop the net flow of solvent molecules from one region to another, from one region to another in presence of SPM is called as osmotic pressure. Means the pressure that is needed or that is required to give from the external side, from outside, to stop the net flow of movement of molecules from one region to another is called as osmosis. That is, the pressure required to stop osmosis is called as osmotic pressure. Just remember this. Okay, this is definition. The pressure required to stop the net flow of molecules, that is to stop the osmosis, is called as osmotic pressure. Now, considering a few terms, we all know the definitions of the term. I am just writing it down. Okay, hypotonic, hyper. What are the meaning of this term? Isotonic, hypotonic, and hypertonic. Simple. If two solutions have same concentration of solutes, if the two solutions have same concentration, then called as isotonic. If the two solutions are given A and B, and if they both have same concentration, then they are said to be isotonic to each other. Now, if a solution has less concentration as compared to another one, for example, a cell A has less concentration than B, then what we can say is A is hypotonic, right? A is hypotonic. Similarly, here if A has more, or the same statement can be said in reverse, like B, here B is hypertonic to A. Simple. Hypotonic means less concentration, hypertonic means more concentration. So these are the definitions of this important. So what would occur if a cell is kept in hypertonic solution? What would occur? Yes, A, no change. B, endosmosis. A cell is kept in hypertonic solution. A normal living cell is kept in hypertonic solution. So what occurs? No change, endosmosis, exosmosis, or what we can say, nothing. Just three options. What occurs? Endosmosis, exosmosis, or no change? The answer would be exosmosis. Why? See, a cell is kept in hypertonic solution. The solution here is hypertonic. A normal cell contains cell membrane. So here we are talking about osmosis. It is kept in hypertonic. So cell would itself be hypotonic. So water always moves from hypo to hyper. That golden statement. So hypo to hyper, water will move out of the cell. So exosmosis occurs. Okay. So this is the concept. Another definition that you need to remember is just two terms that you need to remember. First is turgidity and flaccidity. Just listen to what I am trying to say. Turgidity is basically the turgid nature acquired by the cell when it absorbs the water molecules. When a cell absorbs the water molecules, it becomes turgid, and the property of the cell to become turgid is called turgidity. And if the cell loses water, for example, a cell is kept in hypotonic solution, it swells up, it increases in size due to absorption of water, that is, it becomes turgid. So we can say that the cell has gained turgidity. But if a cell has been kept in hypertonic solution, like the previous MCQ which we had seen, the cell is kept in hypertonic solution, the cell would lose water, it would become shrink. So we say that it has become flaccid. The opposite of turgid is flaccid. So flaccid means it has shrunken down. So the cell has gained flaccidity. So these are the two terms. Another is plasmolysis. another definition of plasmolysis that you need to remember is shrinkage of protoplasm when kept under hypertonic solution. What is shrinkage of protoplasm? Protoplasm, what does it include? Cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus, everything. So shrinkage of cell membrane also takes place due to loss of excess amount of water from the cell. So another different kind of definition that we have seen over here is plasmolysis. What does plasmolysis say? That the shrinkage of protoplasm when kept under hypertonic solution. So these are the definitions that we need to remember. Okay, you can look for the definition. So there is a cell wall, a cell membrane. Okay, cell wall, cell membrane. Okay, and a cell is kept. This is hypertonic solution. Hypertonic. So what occurs due to loss of water from the, see, this is cell wall and this is cell membrane. Due to excess loss of water, what changes occurs is, see, the cell membrane and the structures move away from the cell wall. That is, cell wall is rigid but cell membrane is not. So cell membrane moves away from the cell wall because of loss of water, and water accumulates over here. Understood? So these are the changes that occurs. So a cell which has got shrunken is called a plasmolyzed cell. Plasmolyzed cell. But if a cell that has undergone plasmolysis, okay, now listen to this. If a cell that has undergone plasmolysis, a plasmolyzed cell kept in hypotonic solution, now what would occur? It would regain its original shape. Okay, hypotonic, hypertonic as compared to that. So water will move in. Due to moving in of water, the cell will again regain its shape, and now the cell would be called as deplasmolized. Deplasmolized means, plasmolized means shrunken shape, but now is it shrunken? No, it has overcome that, so it is deplasmolized. So this is plasmolysis. So we have learnt about absorption of water